So hi. First of all, thank you so much for that very warm welcome. First of all, I wanted to congratulate all of you on your presentations and projects. I was very impressed with the quality of work this year. And I was extremely honored to be able to talk to you guys today and to share the stage with the speakers that have been here over the last 2 days. So today I'm here to talk to you guys about being powerful. But I wanted to start by asking you guys a few questions. So I'm going to put a couple of slides up on the board, and there's pictures on them. In each slide, there's a picture of a change maker. So someone who identified a problem in their community and decided to take action against it. So your job is to guess who the change maker is. So let's get started. First of all, we have a little young girl and an old man. So if you think it's the young girl, raise your hand. Okay. If you think it's the old man, raise your hand. Okay, so for those of you who thought it was the old man, can you tell me why you thought that? Okay, because he looks more like a leader and seems to have more experience. Well, that's a very valid point. But today, our change maker is Alexandra Flynn Scott. Little before her first birthday, Alex was diagnosed with neuroblastoma, a type of childhood cancer. She managed to beat the cancer, but little after her 4th birthday, doctors told her that the tumors were growing back, so Alex had to go back in for treatment. While still at the hospital, Alex told her mom that she wanted to open a lemonade stand to raise money to give it to doctors so that they could help other kids like they had helped her. Later that year, Alex managed to get out of the hospital, and with the help of her older brothers, she opened her first lemonade stand. That year, they only made $2,000. And I say only $2,000 because 4 years later, by 2004, they had raised over $1 million. Alex sadly lost her battle that year at age 8, but her legacy lives on in the efforts of her brothers and all the people who support Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation, an organization that is still running strong and opening lemonade stands all over the world to fight for a cure. A couple more pictures. So we have an old lady and a young girl. So, old lady, raise your hand. Young girl, raise your hand. Okay, well this time you're all sort of right, because this is the same person. So, both of these images were taken from a book called Breach of the Peace. The book has pictures about the freedom riders of 1961. Do you guys all know what the freedom rides are? Okay, good. So, this is Margaret Leonard, and yes, that is her mugshot. But I chose her for several reasons. First of all, Margaret is clearly very white, blonde, and has blue eyes. But I mean, the whole point of the freedom rides was that they were interracial. But she was the first Southern student to take part in the freedom rides. But most importantly, I chose Margaret because at the time that she decided to be part of the freedom rides, she was 19 years old, which makes her exactly my age and not much older than most of you, when she decided to put her life at risk and fight for the racial inequalities of others. I mean, she was just a college freshman when she decided to do this. Now, one more slide. So we have a young boy and an old man. So, young boy, raise your hand. Old man, raise your hand. Okay, no, actually, the young boy is my little brother. That's because they were all making noise. So, he will be a change maker. He hasn't done that much yet. He's on it. But we're here to talk about Mario Savia. Mario Savia is the leader of the free speech movement in Berkeley. Savia, this picture was taken many years after he started the movement, but this picture is taken the day that the movement started. Savia was a student at the University of California, Berkeley, and he saw that his rights and those of his fellow students were being broken, and so they decided to start a peaceful protest to fight the university for this. Savia is most famous for his speech, "Put Your Bodies Against the Gears," where he says, "There's a time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart, that you can't take part, and you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you are free, the machine will be prevented from working at all." At this point, he was talking about his university and how they were breaking the free speech rights of their students. But I guess we can all see how this applies to the work we are all doing. There's points in our lives where the things that are happening around us are just too horrible for us to just stand and look at them happen. And we have to take action. And that is exactly what Salia did. He took action and inspired others around him to do the same. So I wanted to go back to my first slide and ask you guys a question. What do all three of these examples have in common? Anyone? Don't all raise your hand at the same time. That's right, but I'm thinking more about their age. What were they? They were all young. So I wanted to tweak my first slide a bit, and I wanted to add something. Today, I'm here to talk about being young and being powerful. So, I'll start with a little bit of my story. My story started very much like Rob's story did yesterday, in GIN CMS. But I was inspired by something other than the carbon footprint. I mean, they were awesome, but they weren't my inspiration. My inspiration was actually Rob's presentation. Seeing someone who was not that much older than me, who had been in my shoes and had lived what I was living, and was now back to talk to us about the change that he had made. That just resonated with me. So, after GIN Sao Paulo, I went to GIN in Costa Rica. A few months after that, I was walking in the stage towards Mr. Delman to get my high school diploma. And little after that, I moved to New York City, and where I'm studying secondary education at NYU. Yes, that does mean that I want to be a high school teacher for the rest of my life. So, Ms. Carney approached me, and she told me that she wanted me to come talk to you guys. She wanted me to give you guys sort of the college student perspective. So, in retrospect, what had I learned from these conferences, and what did I take out of them? And I started thinking of all the work that I had done with Sea Savers, and all the effort that we had put into these presentations. And I remembered that overwhelming feeling that you have when you're in these conferences, of feeling like it is now your responsibility to change everything. And that you want to apply all these things that you have learned to your everyday life. And then that even more overwhelming feeling that accomplishing all of this was probably unconquerable. But I also realized how much my views had changed on a ton of things. Like, for example, that everything in my life was plastic. It wasn't just water bottles. It was my toothbrush, my toothpaste, my pens, the tip of my shoelaces were plastic. Also, I started thinking about my prom dress. Was I really going to spend that much money on a dress that I was going to wear for like 4 hours? And sea turtles and sick puppies, I mean, we all feel bad about them, but why don't we do anything? And what can we do? So I kept on thinking about these things, and I ended up boiling all my ideas down to one. And it was simple. It had nothing to do with puppies, or turtles, or dresses, or pens, or shoelaces, or anything. There you go. With anything. It had to do with you. What impressed me the most about these conferences is that all this is student-run. All of this happens because a group of kids decided that something had to change in the world. Whether it was the sea turtles, the lionfish, the puppies, the water bottles, whatever. The point is that it had to change. And that without even realizing, you guys have created more change than society gives young people the credit for. Since we're little, we're sort of conditioned to believe that because we are kids, we can't really do much. Actually, Seinfeld has a very relevant joke. So he said, hey, wait up. Wait up. That's what kids say. They don't say wait. They say wait up. Because when you're a kid, everything is up. Your life is up. The future is up. Wait up, hold up, shut up. Mama, clean up. Let me stay up. But obviously, for parents, of course, everything is just the opposite. Everything is down. Just calm down. Sit down, slow down, come down here, put that down. So, since we're little, of course, our parents don't do this on purpose. But they start telling us that we have to stay down. We have to stay down from creating commotion. And make no mistake, change requires commotion. So, Now, I say that we have power, but what power do we actually have? What power does a kid with no financial or social independence have over a self-governing adult? In my opinion, it comes down to three things: options, innocence, and plain old stubbornness. There's no other point in life where our lives are more filled with options than the one that you and I are living right now. Last year, I was sitting on your very seat. Well, not exactly on that seat, in a very similar seat in Costa Rica. The point is that I was sitting there with 6 different colleges to choose from, and any college major in the world to commit to. My options were infinite, just like are yours. But I know that sometimes these things seem overwhelming. It seems like too much, too many decisions to make when we're so young. But you have to realize that this is a blessing and not a curse. You must explore these options. You must take the chance to see what is out there and realize that the roads divide into a million different forks that, when taken with the right attitude and the right goals, can lead to a million different happy endings. So next, we have innocence. As teenagers, we believe that we can take over the world. I mean, don't we? But this attitude can be very good or very bad. But when put to good use, our I can do anything attitude can be extremely productive, because we genuinely believe that we can do anything. And I know that this is an incredibly naive view of the world, and I know that many see it as a handicap. But I want to believe that when mixed with my third point, stubbornness, this creates a match made in heaven. Because we are stubborn enough to stick to our goals. Sometimes because we're very driven people who want to do what they said they were going to do, and other times because we just said we were going to do it and we're too stubborn to tell people that we can't. So we just stick to it. But what we must realize is that we must stick to our goals. We must stick to our vision. We must stick to what we're trying to accomplish. But we can't stick to the path that we're trying to get there. As John C. Maxwell says, failed plans should not be interpreted as failed vision. Visions don't change. They are only refined. Plans rarely stay the same, and are scraped or adjusted as needed. Be stubborn about the vision, but be flexible with your plan. So, that's what I got out of the GIN conference as a positive thing. But as I mentioned before, I always stayed with that feeling that I had to change everything. And I'm sure you're feeling the same thing. You're feeling that the weight of the world, the weight of changing all these problems, is now on your shoulders. And it is. It actually is. Well, it sort of is. Because your eyes have now been opened to all these problems. And it doesn't matter how hard you shut them, those images were always being engraved in your memory. That dying bird, you will see it every time you close your eyes. Every time. But the point is that I'm not asking you guys to change the entire world. All you have to do is add your drop of water. A few weeks ago, a good friend of mine, and the person I consider my mentor, Miss Lisa Emma, sent me a gift. And it was a manual by Brandon Andrews, and it read, "One day, I decided to help wherever I could, and it was almost like magic, because I was exactly what the world needed everywhere I went." So, I'm not asking you to do everything. I'm just asking you to do whatever you can everywhere you go. So, what does this look like in my life? Sometimes it's simple. Smiling at the doorman, giving my change to the lady who sits outside my bagel shop, or even Instagramming a picture of an event or organization that I want to help. Other times it's something bigger, like volunteering at Reef Check for a summer, or working with the Fundación Siempre Más, where I hike Pico Barco tour 3 times a year, or all the work I did with Sea Savers. And sometimes I get a little dramatic because I'm a theater student, and that's what theater students do, we're dramatic. Like my final form of protest here at CMS. In GIN Sao Paulo, going back to that, we saw a presentation by TerraCycle. They're an organization that works with upcycling, so taking trash and creating new things with it. So at that point, I decided, with the help of Yama, once again, that I was going to leave the school with a bang. And so I got back to CMS that Monday and started collecting water bottles. You know those Dasani water bottle labels, the blue ones? I started collecting those. I ended up collecting over 1,500 of those, putting them all in a bag and driving to a designer's office, throwing them on his desk and telling them, can you do something with this? The final result? My prom dress. This was featured on the newspaper on World Environmental Day. But what was more important to me was that my prom ended up falling on World Oceans Day. And if any of you know the work that sea savers do, you will know that the oceans are incredibly important to me. So I thought that there was no better way of celebrating and no better outfit to celebrate in. But that's not the point, once again. The point is that it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're just Instagramming a picture of GIN or if you're wearing a recycled prom dress. The point is that you are doing something. So to wrap up today, I just wanted to show you guys a little video that I saw when I went to Sao Paulo.
We are constantly being bombarded by problems that we face, and sometimes we can get completely overwhelmed. The story of the hummingbird is about this huge forest being consumed by a fire. All the animals in the forest come out and they are transfixed as they watch the forest burning, and they feel very overwhelmed, very powerless, except this little hummingbird. It says, I'm going to do something about the fire. So it flies to the nearest stream, takes a drop of water, and it puts it on the fire, and goes up and down, up and down, up and down, as fast as it can. In the meantime, all the other animals, much bigger animals, like the elephant, with a big trunk, could bring much more water. They are standing there helpless, and they are saying to the hummingbird, what do you think you can do? You're too little. This fire is too big. Your wings are too little. And your beak is too small. You can only bring a small drop of water at a time. But as they continue to discourage it, it turns to them without wasting any time and tells them, I'm doing the best I can. And that to me is what all of us should do. We should always feel like a hummingbird. I may feel insignificant, but I certainly don't want to be like the animals watching as the planet goes down the drain. I will be a hummingbird. I will do the best I can.
That story for me personally has become a life motto. I wear a hummingbird around my neck at all times, just as a reminder. So what am I asking of you guys today? I am not asking you to change the world in 3 days. I'm not even asking you to change the world in your entire lifetime. I'm just asking you guys to do something, anything, everything you can, everywhere you go. I want you guys to become a hummingbird and just do the best that you can. Thank you.